Hi everybody, Army P here for eXplorminate, and welcome back to my ongoing Let's Play and my last episode of Surviving Mars, a colony builder set on Mars. I was going to show off a little bit more of the construction inside a dome, and I wanted to do that this episode, but moreover, I kind of wanted to give my overall opinion on Surviving Mars, to kind of do this Let's Play as more of an extended preview versus, just a full-on Let's Play. I think the major reason is because, quite frankly, this game is really fun to play. It's a very solid, colony, city type builder game. But unfortunately, it just isn't too terribly interesting to watch me, acquire more resources, build more infrastructure to acquire more resources, and therefore, then kind of going forward on that kind of vein. What you got here in this Let's Play is pretty much a very good indication of the very base mechanics of the game. You've got everything from landing your colonists into structured domes, being able to manage your most basic of resources from metal, concrete, food, and rare minerals. And of course, you've got your sorry about that. And you've also got your advanced resources, which is just simply a combination of several different resources together that you have to be able to manufacture or acquire itself. So yeah, what I'm going to do instead is, you guys of course followed me along to this point. I figure it would be actually interesting to kind of show you what my personal game is like, the one that I have been playing off camera. Now this is a bit of a beast. Okay, so as you can see here from the scroll bar below, I've got, it looks like 6 domes on the go of various sizes. This is going to be a bit of a shocker. I'm just going to clear off all these colonists here, and I'm going to show you what the game's capable of looking like after you've established the very base minimums. You've gone through the entire tech tree, and you've got thousands of colonists. I think at this point I've actually got over 1,000 colonists in this. So you can see here from this zoomed up map that I have a total of 6 domes, and I am basically just teeming with even the best technology, the best resources, the best infrastructure. It was actually a lot of fun to get it to this point, and I was going to not only just show off some of the end structures, because the game actually has a whole bunch of really awesome wonders that you can build. I believe I've built all the wonders that have been available to me. I'm not going to tell them too much because I don't want to spoil it for you. My hope is that you can play this game yourself, because I would recommend it for sure. If you love these type of colony builder type games, city builder, colony builder, whatever the case may be, you can see here this is the old mega telescope, which boosts my overall research. This is one of my larger domes. We'll get down to the nitty gritty later, but this is my resource pile. You can see here I'm absolutely just bursting full with everything from concrete to electronics, food, you name it. We got ourselves a nice space elevator and etc. And you can see here if you're really into colony builders, this might drive you absolutely nuts. It's a combination of my water and oxygen creators. I won't tell you what this lovely little gem is, because the game comes with several different preloaded events. Now some of these I've encountered 3, I believe, so far, and I believe there's 6. Could be wrong on that, but some of them are just interesting events that occur in the game. Other ones are events that require you to kind of absorb resources, and other ones give you challenges. I will say that one thing I was expecting a little bit off of when I first started this game is to have a little bit of a challenge system similar to, say, like RimWorld, where there would be constant threats to the various domes in my overall colony in this game. And although they do have some of them, dust storms, meteor showers, etc., none of them I felt, even on the harder difficulty, I played on hard on one of them, I never felt like they were a direct threat to my colony. Now, it's not to say that that's not possible. I did pick a pretty good starting location where these dust bunnies or slow cold snaps or anything like that were coming into play. But that being said, I thought that there'd be something more challenging necessarily, and it's kind of a shame because although there's the challenge comes from, of course, acquiring more resources to build more infrastructure, generally speaking, I didn't feel at all like overly challenged by that particular aspect of the game. I would have actually loved to see something like a catastrophe, a huge meltdown or breakdown, maybe one particular resource that I had, constantly on the go, ends up being tainted, or there was some type of calamity on Earth where I was cut off from Earth for a period of time. These kind of different interesting things would have made the game a little bit more varied from the typical game that I actually played. I found that generally speaking, you can see here where where's my... I got a big crop of vaporizers. Yeah, you'll notice here that if you're playing this game, and you'll notice all of these are really close together, that's actually not the best way to accomplish this. I know I don't want to get off too far off tangent, but if you're looking at that going, you're losing 40% of output, it has to do with space. I actually think this is a better setup than putting it apart. But here's an example. So I've got these water towers here, right? So these water towers absorb the abundance of water that you're currently not using in your domes. Same with your oxygen towers or oxygen containers. These store oxygen for you so that if there's ever a reason why you don't have it, well, you got a backup. And I built them in droves in separate areas, and the hope, and even built, like you can see here, I've got a cutoff switch in one of my domes, because I was thinking at one point in the game that there would be some calamity where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to figure out a way to feed 2 domes through these redundant systems that I built, but unfortunately it just never happened, and it's a shame. I would have really liked it to. Because once you get to a certain point in the game where your resources are just in ridiculous abundance, there isn't besides building, of course, the high-end wonders, there isn't much there that will really necessarily challenge you. The second kind of I don't, not to focus on all negative things, but the second thing that I thought they could have done a little bit better when it comes to surviving Mars would have definitely been how you manage your colonists. Because as it stands right now, you can see that I've got several domes. I've got these 2 mega domes. As I pull out here, you can see I've got several domes here that I'm, that are some of my original domes. You can tell where my original dome was for sure. Colonists will end up going in between these domes if it's not too far, or they will be airlifted by the shuttle hub. The shuttle hub, you can see them here. They're basically little tiny drones that will fly resources and people around. So the idea being is, if you put here, my colonists, I've got in this particular hub, I've got 65 out of 52. So I've got homeless people. I've got like 13 homeless people that cannot fit into the infrastructure. So what they'll do is they'll be ticked off and they'll go to a different dome. Now, logically, you'll be thinking, well, that makes no sense, Army P. Why on earth would you have homeless people? Build them more housing. Well, the problem is that initially I had just enough people for the housing inside of this particular dome. But what happens is they start having babies. They start getting together, hooking up, getting married, and having little Martians, which is hilarious to say. But that being said, they have little Martians, and there's nowhere for them to live. It seems like the birth rate's much higher than the death rate in this game, especially when you start getting higher end tech. So what they do is they start migrating to different ones. You can see here my colonists are 161 to 152 available slots. Same here. Almost everyone, I'm just teaming. So what happens is they have nowhere for you to live. Like, look at this one for overcapacity. I've got, a huge amount of unemployment, huge amount of homeless people, and I can't seem to stop this. Tell people, hey, you can't have babies without space. And it seems, so I've got this, amount of people just hanging out in a dome that are homeless. In fact, this dome in particular that I just built right here, you can see here, I actually got some available spots for me, right? Or some available land. So let's say like I were to build not a research hub. Where are we going here? An apartment building. So I build the apartment building. It should start building, immediately, because my drones aren't too terribly busy. What you'll notice is that as soon as that happens, and I start having any type of available housing in these domes, well, then people from over here like colonists will come from this cluster of different domes, will come and they will literally try to make the long trek all the way around. I've had tons of colonists die trying to make it over here because there's available housing. I just can't seem to tell people to stop breeding. I don't know if it's possible for that. I do have this one thing saying it's quarantine, it accepts new colonists or it doesn't, but I have no way, it seems, to tell people to stop having babies because we don't have the space, which would seem like it would be a feature that we should have. Now, as you're probably listening to the robot type AI voice in the game, you can hear that I've gotten tons of cable faults. That's the one thing in the game that seems to be, at least in this release in particular, one of your most constant challenges is that you will constantly have some type of cable and pipe leak. And that's fine. I get it. It's part of the game. There's another one of the indicators. And I get it. That's fine. You're going to have people or pipes that burst or cables that fault, whatever the case may be. But it happens in such abundance that it just feels like the frequency needs to be touched down just a tad. And it's a bit of a shame. So I know I've talked a little bit about some of the negatives. Those are some of the things that I've noticed in the 35 plus hours that I've played Surviving Mars. But talking about the good things definitely outweighs some of the smaller gripes that I have. Because everything that I just mentioned here is something that will be easy to patch through. You know, giving colonists the ability or the inability to have babies could be an interesting mechanic on increasing their happiness or decreasing it depending on what you put on them. But the major ones,
fault reported.
And there's another cable fault. But anyway, and then of course turning down the frequency for cable faults. Or perhaps, I don't know, some type of technology that you get a better pipe or less maintenance, whatever the case may be. You'd think that there would be lesser ways to prevent that happening so frequently.
Battery low.
So, the good things about Surviving Mars. I played this game for 35 hours, give or take. I haven't had a single crash. I haven't had any significant bugs. In fact, if I did have any bugs, I bet you any money I wasn't even aware of them because the game either just sorted it out on itself on its own AI's own logic or whatever the case may be. But I tell you, I never encountered anything that hindered my fun level in terms of gameplay oddities or bugs. Except for these cable faults. But that's something to be said because I got access to this game nearly 2.5 weeks, I believe, before launch.
Cable fault reported.
You cable fault, stop. Sorry. And it's really, really impressive at just the level of polish this game has, including I've never had problems with the drones, which of course were, are not controlled directly through you. You have general orders, and when the drone, if it's in the drone's scope of work, they will of course accomplishment, and you can set the changing priority through this icon in the upper right hand corner. It all worked seamlessly. It all worked beautifully. I had no problems getting from point A to point B, doing any of this interesting detailing when it comes to giving orders out to any of my call or any of these drones. For the most part, I would say all of the infrastructure was pretty self-explanatory. It was fun to build. It's a fun game. It's a lot of fun. There's enough here that you're going to be enjoying. If you're a colony builder, if you're a city builder, this is going to be a game for you. And I was really impressed by nothing else. It's just the level of polish and the level of fun that I was having playing this game. It was really, really good. Additionally, there's a lot of fun text that you can use and a lot of interesting wonders that you can build. I'm not going to, you're probably looking at them going, wow, what is that? Oh, what's this? And I'm not going to tell you. No way. Play the game and enjoy it for yourself. But some of these techs are very demanding resource-wise to actually get built. But once you do, worth it, 100%. And I think that another thing, and this is kind of a double-edged sword, depending on if you're into this kind of situation or not. One of the things that I know is going to happen is this game's going to get a lot of DLC. Now, this is going to be a double-edged sword. Like, you can look at it and go, oh, wait a second. I don't want to be sitting here paying, looking at a game after 2 years and seeing 6 or 7 DLCs. So it all depends on how you look at it. Me, personally, if I'm really, really into a game, I look forward to constant development, especially this is the way that Paradox does its DLC policy, is that they will constantly develop a game for an extended period of time. and we'll have DLC kind of accompanying that. That's, hit or miss. It depends if you like it or don't. I have no problem with it as long as the content is worth it. And this is a Paradox published title, so you know for a fact that there are going to be a lot of DLCs for this game. Already, I believe you can get the top tier pre-order, kind of like the collector's edition for Mars, Surviving Mars, and it already comes with a bundle of the first DLCs are included in that price. So you know that's coming, which isn't a problem because the base game here is there's enough content, there's a lot of content, but the base game in itself is so sound and so strong that I want to see additional infrastructure or different scenarios. I want to see these things in the game because I think that they're going to add a lot to this exceptional colony builder type game. When a base is strong enough that you want to see DLC, it means that you're not being robbed. It's when you're seeing a game and you're going, ooh, this is awfully bare bones, and then they release tons of DLC. I think that there's enough here for sure to satisfy any fan of the genre. And that is pretty much what I think of Surviving Mars. I've had a ton of fun playing it. I definitely want to see where it's going to go into the future. I want to see DLC. I will definitely, if we get the opportunity to cover some of the DLC, I'll definitely do it in the future. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to kind of see that. If there was two things that I'm really looking forward to in particular, and one of them is going to be, I'll talk about it in a second here, but it's mod support. But one of the ones I'm really looking forward to the most when it comes to this title in particular is scenarios. Some type of event, some type of calamity when it comes to your colonists on Mars. Because your colonists, for the most part, are relatively easy to keep happy. You can see here on the right hand side that most of my colonists, even though I've got 12 homeless ones here, they're living in they've got good sanity, their health is good, their sanity is good, they seem happy. For the average person, it's pretty good for their comfort levels. Morale seems good. All I did was build them, just a few items, a few infrastructure to keep them happy, and it wasn't very difficult. So managing your colonists, at least on the more average levels, doesn't seem too terribly difficult to accomplish. But what I'd love to see is some type of scenario built into the game through either DLC or free content or both, is, like I said earlier, some type of event that just really forces you to be cunning and interesting and use all of these variable tools to overcome this situation. It might require you to get a little bit more of the basic and advanced resources because they are quite scarce when you play this game in the beginning. Like it does take a long time. This particular game, I think I have 13 hours to get to this point, so it looks like this was a long journey, kind of getting all of the colonists that I needed in the right places, and working together to kind of build this Martian empire. The second one is definitely mod support, because if you've played City Skylines, you know that the modding community is very active there, and they build some amazing structures, and they do some amazing work when it comes to that. And even though Surviving Mars has an abundance of different types of infrastructure, it'd be really interesting to see how the mods decide to shore things up. Like, I can personally think of different reasons, or different apartments, different science vessels, things that were going to be good for the comfort of the colonists, but has some type of downplay or hindrance to it. So everything comes out of a small choice. You're going to have more capacity but lower morale, or something to that effect. Because you can see right here in this particular dome that I have a lot of apartments. I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this giant spire here is the archaeology, and that is nothing but residence. It's basically a high-rise apartment in Mars, and I still am struggling for finding colonist locations to live, because you can see in this one particular I've got 68 homeless people. So some type of additional housing would probably be required, although I could build another dome. But it just seems like you get to a point in the game, especially late game, where you are building domes just to house Martians, human Martians, people that were born on Mars. I haven't, in fact, I haven't had a shuttle come to to Mars with passengers in particular for hours in this game because of the amount of breeding. So it'll be interesting to see the least. And of course, when it comes to some really wild and funky wonders, that'd be really interesting to do too as well. So the two things, like I said, that I would love to see in the future out of surviving Mars, cool scenarios or challenges or calamities, and definitely I cannot wait to see what the mods want to do with its mod support. So that is pretty much it. There's probably a couple more things I wouldn't mind talking about in general, but those are the small little nitpicks. And because I haven't had a chance to actually play the release version, I'm pretty sure there's going to be one that's going to be released in the next, as release date comes around. But I can't imagine there's anything that's going to be. It's going to be a lot of quality of life improvements that I don't necessarily yearn for. I didn't find that the game was difficult in any way or form to understand. It's got a good basic tutorial. Everything's pretty self-explanatory, and if you're ever confused about something, a lot of times you can just drop down this little help bar and you can find tons of hints. And like I said, it's pretty darn, and in fact I think they even got an encyclopedia. They do an encyclopedia with every building, everything that you're ever going to need to know about Mars. So that's pretty much it. This is my Let's Play of Surviving Mars. I wanted to do a little bit more of a extended preview because I don't want to spoil a lot of things. I mean, let's face it, if you were a casual fan of this and you're looking at this particular Let's Play, I hope that this is one of those things where you can go, well, you know what? Army Pew sure enjoyed himself and it looks like a ton of fun. I'm going to pick it up. But of course, if you wanted to find another Let's Play online that shows you and walks you through every part of the game, but I think that kind of takes away some of the fun, telling you the honest truth, and I didn't want to spoil it because this is definitely a game worth picking up. So this has been Army P for eXplorminate. I really appreciate you guys watching, and let me know in the comments section below. This video is going to be coming out on launch day. Did you pick up Surviving Mars? What did you think about it? Did you have any challenges? Because I certainly had challenges that were based on games mechanics instead of technical difficulties, and quite frankly, in this day and age, that's a blessing. So, and I appreciate it. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to join us on our Steam forums at eXplorminate, and I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you in the next Let's Play series.